Welcome to Iron Frontier, Beyond Borders into History. In the latter half of the 20th century, the world was torn apart by the Iron Curtain. Amid the storm of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union clashed in a deadly showdown, turning small nations into mere pawns on the global chessboard. In May 1954, after 9 long years of resistance, Vietnam achieved a decisive victory at Dien Bien Phu, shattering French colonial rule. The triumph forced the French to the negotiating table in Geneva, a victory that shook the world. At that very table, the nation was divided along the 17th parallel. The North, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of war, embarked on building a fledgling independent state. The South fell into the arms of the West, becoming America's anti-communist stronghold in Asia. Amid this upheaval, a massive exodus unfolded. Nearly 1 million North Vietnamese, fearing communist rule and encouraged by U.S.-led Operation Passage to Freedom, fled southward. Overcrowded boats and makeshift rafts carried desperate families across turbulent waters, seeking refuge in the promised land of the South. Under the banner of the free world, Washington installed No Din Diem's regime. Waves of American military advisors quietly flooded into Saigon, bringing money, weapons, and political schemes. In less than a decade, over 16,000 American advisors were stationed on this land. The Strategic Hamlet program was launched. Millions of civilians were herded into barbed wire camps. Small flames of resistance smoldered across the Mekong Delta, the Truong Sun Mountains, and the Central Highlands, and then erupted into a sea of fire. Southern hearts burned with fury. Women guerrillas and barefoot soldiers vowed to fight for independence. The liberation movement grew amidst a storm of bombs and violence. Meanwhile, gripped by the domino theory, America sank deeper. Washington believed if Vietnam fell, all Southeast Asia would follow. Vietnam, a small nation, became the battlefield of the century. In 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident was staged. The destroyer USS Maddox claimed it was attacked off North Vietnam. Under the false flag of justice, the United States officially entered its largest war since World War II. March 1965, U.S. Marines landed in Da Nang. Their combat boots hit Vietnamese soil, carrying illusions of a swift victory. In just the first year, U.S. troop numbers soared to 184,300. By 1968, that number peaked, 543,000 American troops entrenched in this S-shaped land. Operation Rolling Thunder unleashed fire upon the North. Over 3 years, 304,000 sorties dropped 860,000 tons of bombs, devastating villages, cities, and fields. Hanoi and Haiphong, for the first time, faced an aerial inferno. Yet, Vietnam did not bow. Worse still, America sprayed 77 million liters of Agent Orange across the South, destroying forests, poisoning rivers, and sowing a generational curse. The more troops they sent, the deeper America sank. For before them stood not just soldiers, but an entire nation fighting to protect their homeland. 1968, the Vietnam War reached a turning point. The Tet Offensive, once meant for reunion, became a seismic shock that rattled America to its core. For the first time, the National Liberation Front flag flew in Saigon's heart. America woke up to the grim truth. They weren't facing faceless communists, but an entire nation rising. The Tet Offensive struck like a steel fist. Across America, disbelief and doubt spread. Citizens questioned the righteousness of a war crafted by their leaders. War expenses spiraled out of control. By 1968, America spent $77 billion, equivalent to over $640 billion today. The U.S. economy reeled, inflation surged, record deficits mounted. For the first time since World War II, America faced recession. 1969, Richard Nixon took office, vowing to Vietnamize the war. Yet, changing the uniform could not change the nature of the conflict. U.S. forces began their withdrawal, leaving behind a ravaged South, an economy in ruins, and tens of thousands of Vietnamese lives lost. 1972, America launched its final blow. Operation Linebacker II. B-52s carpet-bombed Hanoi and Haiphong, dropping 36,000 tons of bombs in just 12 days, the most intense bombing in modern warfare. But Hanoi stood firm. Beneath the skies of fire, the unyielding spirit of a nation forced the world's most powerful empire to the negotiating table. At last, America sat down to negotiate. In January 1973, after grueling talks, the Paris Peace Accords were signed. The United States officially recognized Vietnam's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Yet even then, America clung to its schemes, pouring money and weapons into the Saigon regime. Nearly 1 million tons of bombs rained down on the South in those final 2 years. Around the world, anti-war protests surged like never before. Over 500,000 marched through Washington, New York, Paris, Tokyo, chanting, "End the Vietnam War." America fractured. Coffins draped in flags returned home daily. 58,220 Americans dead, over 300,000 wounded. A generation lost halfway across the world. Then came the fateful day. Spring 1975, the Ho Chi Minh Campaign thundered forward. Liberation forces swept into Saigon, obliterating the last remnants of the old regime. April 30th, 1975, the gates of Independence Palace crumbled under the tank treads. The revolutionary flag soared above the enemy's stronghold. The war was over. After 21 years of division, the nation was whole once more. The world stood still. The mighty United States suffered a humiliating defeat. A small nation had vanquished the most powerful empire on earth, driven by sheer will, patriotism, and the unyielding desire for independence. The Vietnam War ended, but its scars, its lessons, and the pride of a resilient nation will echo through history.